Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. Over the last few weeks, I've been contemplating an old teaching story, and I wrote a blog about it. And it's a teaching story I've always loved. I actually put it in one of my early books about a Cherokee elder who's teaching his grandson about life. And he says, "A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, deception, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. This same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too." The boy thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Now, I used to interpret that story as being about positive thinking, and when I first came across it, that's how it was explained, that if you focus on the positive in your life, you feed the positive, you'll enjoy your life far more than if you become consumed by negativity. So you need to choose positive thoughts over negative ones as often as possible, and then that wolf wins. But one of the first things I saw when I began to see the inside-out nature of the human experience, that we live in an experience of thought, not an experience of an external world, and that we have so little control over the content of our thinking. I kind of lost my love of the story because I thought, well, yeah, if the mind worked that way, if we were in control of our thinking, then yes, which wolf we feed would be important, but we're not, so it's a nice metaphor. Outdated model of how the mind actually works. But a few weeks ago, like I said, I was thinking about the story again, and I went, oh, wait, I don't think the two wolves are positivity and negativity. I think the first wolf in the story is the ego, and the second wolf is our true nature, the true self. So let me define terms. So the Scottish mystic Sid Banks described ego as an image of self-importance, and he said, ego creates self-importance and is strictly related to the personal self and the personal intellect. The ego creates duality and separates us from the great divine oneness and the wisdom that we seek. Now, on the other hand, the true self, our true nature, soul, pure awareness, pure consciousness, divine intelligence, the God within, however you've heard that described, however you think about that, the higher self. I like to think about it as whatever's left over when we leave behind the noise in our head. Whatever's still there when we're not thinking about our thinking, when we're resting in quiet, in stillness, in silence. Whatever it is that exists before our personal thinking. Now, that still leaves us with a question, which is, how do you feed the wolf of your true nature, the true self, instead of the wolf of the ego? Well, I only got two, right? I got two ideas. The first is stop feeding the ego. So my friend Mara Gleason Olson told me that one of the big insights that she had that freed her up to run the global initiative nonprofit that she runs with her husband, One Solution Global Initiative, was realizing that what was holding her back was she didn't want people to think that she thought that she was smart enough to solve all the world's problems when all of humanity had been struggling with them for 5,000 years or so. And what she realized was, oh, that's ego. Even though it sounds humble, wanting to control the way you're seen and thought about by yourself or other people is food for the ego. And that's the essence of what constitutes ego food. If you're more concerned about how something comes across than you are about the thing itself, it's a pretty good bet that's ego. So when you're feeding your image, the imaginary way that we see ourselves, the way we imagine others see us, the way others imagine us to be, that is feeding the wolf of the ego. So what's the second thing? How do you feed the wolf of the true self? I remember years ago somebody signing off on an email to me, "Rest in peace." And I got kind of freaked out by it because I thought, is that a threat? Right? Don't you say that when somebody is dead? But what I saw when I kind of calmed down was, as a phrase without the context, rest in peace is a really nice thought, right? Wouldn't you wish that for anyone you love, that they could rest in peace? It's only when we're convinced that our feelings are at the mercy of our circumstances that it would make sense that, well, when you're dead, you can rest in peace. But until then, you've got work to do. But what if we can rest in peace while being fully alive? The nature of the human experience, we live in the feeling of our thinking, not the feeling of the world. And peace is our natural state. It's the space we're born into. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of notice it most often when I can feel my way beyond the edges of my thinking. So my ability to rest in peace, our ability to rest in peace, isn't about how busy your life is or how challenging your circumstances are. It's just a matter of how often you're willing to pause in the midst of a really busy mind and return to the beauty of right now. We can rest in peace in any moment, and that peace is the peace of our true self, our true nature. So, are we really feeding the wolf? No. I don't think it's really possible to strengthen that which is the source of our strength. But any moment that you spend in the quiet and stillness of the deepest part of yourself strengthens your faith that all you are is all you need. So I want to read that story one more time with this in mind. A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight between two wolves. One is ego. The other is the true self. This same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The boy thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. I want to finish this, as I did with the blog, with one last quote from Sid Banks. A mind full of love and good feelings can never go wrong. Have fun, learn heaps, and I'll talk with you soon.